This is session 23, and we're continuing on the topic of the person of peace. And now I want to look at how to meet people of peace. Jesus said that he came to seek and save that which was lost. That's talking about living on purpose, for a purpose, strategically on purpose. And so we want to be purposeful about how we reach out to people and to whom we're reaching out, etc., etc. And so we need to be thinking like an ambassador, thinking like a representative of Christ wherever we go, whatever we do, and in our daily life. And this is why we want to be very purposeful in thinking about how do we meet people of peace. Now, number one, I'm going to give you a couple ways to meet people of peace that I've learned. And number one is engaging with those that you already know and you're already connected with. John chapter 1 verse 40 to 42 says, one of the two who heard John speak and followed him was Andrew, Simon Peter's brother. He first found his own brother Simon and said to him, "We have found the Messiah," which is translated the Christ. And he brought him to Jesus. And when Jesus looked at him, he said, "You are Simon, the son of Jonah. You shall be called Cephas," which is translated a stone. And so here we see that Peter followed Jesus because his brother introduced him to Jesus. Okay? Peter followed Jesus because his brother introduced him to Jesus. And Peter was one of the founding pillars in the church. Okay? John and James were fellow fishermen. So they already knew each other, John and James. You know, we need to consider our family, our friends, our neighbors, our colleagues, those people that we already know. We need to consider that one of them could be a person of peace that we've overlooked. Don't just look for someone who you don't know. Look among the people that you do know. Is someone you already know potentially a person of peace that you can start to connect with, and you can start to try and influence for Jesus so that they can reach others for Jesus? That's a good question. I want to ask you to think about that. Make a list. Hopefully you've got a list, a whole list of those kind of people. The second kind of way to meet a person of peace would be to spend time in places which show promise of potential. Okay, now this would be strategic. Okay, spend time in places which show promise of potential. And I want to look at Acts chapter 16 with this one, verse 13 to 15. It says, "And on the Sabbath day, we went out of the city to the riverside, where prayer was customarily made. And we sat down and spoke to the women who met there. And now a certain woman named Lydia heard us, and she was a seller of purple, from the purple cloth, from the city of Tyrita, who worshipped God. And the Lord opened her heart and to heed to the things spoken by Paul." And so, and then it carries on, verse 15. "And when she and her household were baptized, she begged us, saying, 'If you have judged me to be faithful to the Lord, come to my house and stay.' So she persuaded us." Now, here I love this. In verse 13, "They went to the riverside where prayer was customarily made, and they sat down and spoke to the women that were there." People coming to pray implies that they were spiritually seeking. Okay? Now, this means the person of peace is someone who's seeking. So this would be very strategic, to go to a place where you expect spiritual people to gather. This might be a convention of New Agers. It might be a place where, you know, it doesn't have a cross up, and it's not a cathedral or a church, but it might be something more New Agey. It might be something like that. It might be just a festival of love. If you call a festival of love, and let's say it's just music and all of that, people might be seeking love, but love is a spiritual thing. So it's worth trying to hang out in a place like that, to see if you can connect to people like that and minister to them. Okay? It's also, this isn't just limited to places which people would come to be spiritual. But it's also places where you can basically meet with and interact with people who are basically far from God, even if they don't know it. Okay? This includes difficult situations like a place of crisis, a hospital, a jail. But we shouldn't limit it to places like that, because it could also be a coffee shop. And I've seen this strategy work, where if you just go to the same coffee shop regularly, a similar time every day, you'll tend to see the same people there, and you can connect to the staff, you can connect to people, you can smile at them, and after some time you can start to reach out to them, connect with them, start spiritual conversations, and then it would help you to connect to people who are potential people of peace. Okay, so, I want to encourage you to think about, where are some places of promise in your area that you can go to potentially meet people of peace. Write down a list of places that you could hang out in and connect with people who you could reach out to, and they could become your people of peace. Then the third area or place we can meet people of peace, or whatever is, or the third way we meet people of peace, is that they actually find us. That it's not that we're out looking for them, but they find us. And so we need to be ready for to be caught off guard. Because for me, that's I get caught off guard with that. I'm like, oh goodness, like, is this really happening? Or I'm like, wow, did that just happen? Or whatever the case is. But it's like, it's an encounter that you didn't expect. Okay, and those are really beautiful. Luke chapter 19, verse 1 to 10. And this is the story of Zacchaeus. Then Jesus entered and passed through Jericho. Now behold, there was a man named Zacchaeus, who was the chief tax collector, and he was rich. Praise God that we'll encounter rich people as people of peace as well. It's just a joke, but we are open to that. Amen. And he sought to see who Jesus was. So now he is seeking Jesus. Okay, but he could not because of the crowd, and he was short. So he ran ahead, climbed into a sycamore tree to see. And when he was passing by, so that when Jesus was going past, he could see him. And when Jesus came to that place, he looked up in the tree and said to him, Zacchaeus, make haste, come down. I'm coming to your house to stay. And then, so he made haste and came down and received him joyfully. And when they saw it, they complained, saying, he has gone to be with to be a guest with this man who is a sinner. And Jesus said to him, today salvation has come to this house, because he is the son of Abraham. For the Son of Man has come to seek and save that which was lost. Zacchaeus was hungry to encounter Jesus. There are many people out there who are hungry to encounter Jesus, and they may seek you out. I've had many people like that. I'm not looking for a ministry opportunity, and then, they jump on the bandwagon when they see me or they hear about me. I've had people seek me out on social media, message me and say, hey, would you disciple me? I've just become a Christian. Wow, what an opportunity. We must trust for opportunities like that. Pray for them. And then when they come, we need to take them. Jesus recognized that Zacchaeus was a seeker. And so, he invited Zacchaeus into a deeper relationship with him, and we need to do likewise. As we go through our daily business, as we go through our day, we may encounter people who are seeking. They are spiritually hungry, and they may take initiative to connect with us. As we encounter these potential POPs, these POPs, people of peace, when they come to us, we need to consider, what invitation are we going to give them to come deeper? Be ready for that invitation. So you encounter someone, you're at a coffee shop and you're reading your Bible and you're studying, and the waiter or waitress all of a sudden says, hey, can you tell me more about Jesus? I really want to learn more about him, and I can see that you're reading a Bible. Don't just give them a Bible, please. Invite them to discipleship. You can either say, hey, we've got a small group that meets and discovers more about Jesus together. Why don't you come and join us? Or you can say, hey, why don't we meet? I would love to meet up with you when you're on a break, and maybe we can get into the Bible together and learn more about Jesus. I'd love to teach you some of the things I've learned. That we need to be ready for something like that. Another way that we meet people of peace is referrals. Okay, we're talking to somebody, we're evangelizing, we're sowing our seed out there and all this, and then someone says, they don't say, respond to us and go, I want to learn more. They say to us, you should really talk to so-and-so. You know, I don't know if you've experienced that. I've experienced that. You know, you're working on someone, you're ministering to them, and they're like, you know, you should really talk to my friend or my cousin or my whatever, because they are actually like you. They're seeking God. You know, I was on an airplane once ministering to the guy sitting next to me, and he was just blown away at the message of grace and what I was sharing with him. And, you know, I kind of pushed as far as I could for him to receive and sharing the truth with him. But eventually he was just like, you know, you should really talk to my brother, because he seeks this out. He's interested in this kind of stuff. And so, you know, there's a referral there. And then I could connect with his brother on Facebook. You know, but the point is that we should be open to meeting up with people that we are referred to. Okay? So if someone says, hey, you should meet up with so-and-so, don't just dismiss that individual. Don't just be like, well, okay, well, thanks for, I was trying to reach you, so you're not interested, so then I'm just going to move on. Meet up with that person, because you don't know the potential of who you're meeting up with. Acts chapter 10 verse 17 to 22 says, now while Peter wondered within himself what this vision which he had seen meant, behold, the men who had been sent from Cornelius had made inquiry for Simon's house and stood before the gate. And they called and asked whether Simon, whose surname was Peter, was lodging there. And while Peter thought about the vision, the Spirit said to him, behold, 3 men are seeking you. Arise, therefore, go down and go with them, doubting nothing, for I have sent them. And then Peter went down to these men who had been asking for him, who had been sent to him from Cornelius, and said, yes, I am he whom you seek. For what reason have you come? And they said, Cornelius the centurion, a just man, one who fears God and has a good reputation among all the nation of the Jews, was divinely instructed by a holy angel to summon you to his house to hear words from you. So if someone knows of a seeker, if someone knows of someone who would be interested in your message, go. It's an awesome opportunity. Another way that we can reach people, another way that we can find a person of peace, is by going with a team, even if it's only one other person, on an active mission. Okay? Acts chapter 10 verse 1 to 12. There was a certain man in Caesarea called Cornelius, a centurion of what was called the Italian regiment, a devout man and one who feared God with all his household, who gave alms generously to the people and prayed to God always. And about the 9th hour of the day, he saw clearly in a vision an angel of God coming in and saying to him, Cornelius. And when he observed him, he was afraid and said, what is it, Lord? And he said to him, your prayers and alms, your gifts have come up as a memorial before God. Now send men to Joppa and send for Simon, whose surname is Peter. He is lodging with Simon a tanner, whose house is by the sea. And he will tell you what you must do. And when the angel of the Lord spoke to him and had departed, Cornelius called 2 of his household servants and a devout soldier from among them, who waited on him continually. And when he had explained all these things to them, he sent them to Joppa. And the next day when he went on their journey, they drew near to the city. Peter went up into the household to pray, and the rest is history. And so what we see there is, as a team, they went out on an active mission to find a person of peace. Okay? Jesus sent out his followers into the towns 2 by 2. Similarly, you can go out with a friend or with a team to purposefully try and reach out to people through sharing the gospel, through treasure hunting, if you know what that is, through ministering to sick people that you encounter. And all the while, you need to remain alert to potential people of peace. And as you encounter these people of peace, you need to be ready to invite them into a deeper, more meaningful discipleship relationship. So let me ask you, who could you invite in to join you in going out into your area to minister to people and fish for a person of peace? Maybe you have a friend, someone who is close with you, another believer, and together you can go out and just witness and reach out to people on a Saturday morning or something, and trust God to send you a person of peace, someone that you guys can invest into, who will reach other people for Jesus. Another way to connect with and reach people of peace and anybody, but people of peace specifically, is an affinity group. Okay, I had to look up that word and learn what it means when I was studying all of this out. But an affinity group. Okay, an affinity group is a group of people having a common interest or a goal, and they act together for a specific purpose. It's a group of people with a common culture, and they identify with each other. And, it's easy to connect with them quickly. Okay? This could be expats, this could be a sports club, this could be a cultural group, it could even be the fact that you're a parent. I don't know if you're a parent, then you may have experienced this, but we take our kids to the playground, and it is so easy to talk to other parents. And you wouldn't normally talk, but you've got kids, so now all of a sudden you're connecting with other parents. Having children is a great way to be a missionary and connect with community. Okay, but what it is it's like expats. You go to a foreign country, and you kind of find some, as a South African, I've seen this with different other South Africans. They immigrate, they find other South Africans, and all of a sudden they've got friends that back home they may have never been friends with them. But within those communities, those cultural groups, the soccer club, the whatever, you connect with people, and you dig deeper, you build relationships, and in that group there's maybe a person of peace who's seeking spiritual things, and you just talk to people, you start spiritual conversations with people in that group, and then at some point you identify a person of peace, you disciple them, you start leading them into deeper spiritual things, and then they influence their social network. So you need to ask yourself, I believe, which groups of people are you naturally drawn to? And allow God to use that natural drawing to help you further the kingdom, to further the gospel. How can you join in with such a group or connect into such people? Or should you maybe consider starting some kind of group or something to connect with these kind of people? Maybe in your community you find like there's a lot of I'm just thinking of something random. There's no sports club, like for children or whatever, and so you want to start a baseball or a soccer club, and you start advertising and drawing people together. That will help to create community, and you can reach that community. One of the churches that I grew up in started a baseball club. And it was a Christian baseball club, but because of the baseball club, they were able to reach out into the community and draw people in. And it was really a clever thing to do. So those are some of the areas that you can find some people of peace. But what do you do when you find a person of peace is a good question. And that we're going to answer in the next session.